the sidelines coming for Johan Zarco, who's going to, we believe, have surgery on a rather seriously damaged left knee in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe even next week. His place taken by Cal Crutchlow, and Michele Pirro in for Alex Marquez. Alex with a fractured collarbone and a fracture in his neck, ruled out this weekend and in Hungary next time out. Michele Pirro replacing him here today.
That was the instant which saw Luca Marini drop 3 places on the grid. Jorge Martin not amused, nor were the stewards when they took a closer look at that after free practice 2 yesterday morning. Luca Marini, who had qualified 16th, goes down to 19th on the grid on his home Grand Prix, so he has got a major mountain to climb.
What a shot, what a sight that is. Look at all the umbrellas. The older sunscreen's going to be getting a workout here today in Mugello. It is super, super hot. A lot of the fans that have come through the gates here today, well, their allegiance will be with the number 63. Mugello winner in MotoGP in 2022, 2023 and in 2024. We saw how crestfallen Pecco Bagnaia was here last year when he missed out on the podium. He was the odd one out in an all Ducati top 4 here 1 year ago, beaten by both Alex and Marc Marquez and ultimately Fabio Di Giannantonio. That really did sting for the former MotoGP world champion. We've seen some great celebrations from him here in the past, eating the hot dog, the rock and roll kiss celebrations where he got a special message off the lead man Gene Simmons. He's got his work cut out coming from row 2.
Diogo Moreira, who's going to be coming from row 3, didn't exactly stop him yesterday, did it? At the start of the sprint, as he got aggressive and overtook his mentor, and I guess in many respects his hero, Marc Marquez. Diogo Moreira did say after the sprint yesterday that he wanted at least once in his career to overtake Marc Marquez so he could have a photo of it to take home and put up on his wall. And I don't know whether you're going to see the footage shortly, but you can certainly find it on MotoGP social media channels. He was before the rider parade this morning, presented with a poster of the picture of him essentially ahead of Marc Marquez in the T-Zone sprint yesterday, which Marc Marquez with a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek insult on the message which he signed for Diogo Moreira. What an experience it must have been for the Moto2 champion yesterday. As high as 3rd at one point. I don't think he'll care too much that he slipped out of the points, because he certainly demonstrated his extraordinary talent yesterday.
He went all in, he went good. Now here is now Marc Marquez just prior to the Sunday morning rider parade. They're having a proper good laugh about it, aren't they, the two of them? They are really close. Talent, recognising talent there. 7 times MotoGP world champion, signing that special photo for our reigning Moto2 world champion. It's a pre-race there, they are close, they're training partners back at home in Spain. Diogo Moreira has been by far the leading light for Honda so far this weekend. It's been a real tough Italian Grand Prix for the factory Hondas. Drammi having to retire yesterday with a serious vibration issue from his Michelin rear tyre. Luca Marini was suffering off the pace. Drammi was top 6 in the warm session this morning, so maybe he can bounce back as Pecco Bagnaia with a bit of a mishmash of Ducati's favourite liveries from the past as they celebrate in their home Grand Prix. Of course, Ducati's HQ about an hour drive away on the outskirts of Bologna at Borgo Panigale. Representation of 10 of their best liveries to mark 100 years. What a centenary year it could be for Ducati.
Yeah, the liveries of the Collezioni 100, as they're describing it. The names of every Ducati employee are also on that bike as a thank you to the Borgo Panigale community as they turned their dream into a reality. A dream day yesterday for Raul Fernandez, and a sprint win which also came with a dose of emotion too, given what appears to be going on outside the racetrack for Raul Fernandez and the question marks surrounding his MotoGP future beyond the end of this season. He certainly proved a major point to those outside and certainly to himself yesterday.
Brilliant decision that was matched by Jorge Martin as well, to opt for that Michelin medium rear tyre in that sprint yesterday. Those two that did gamble on the medium rear, well, they were first and second and dominant at the front of that sprint. Here is Jorge Martin. What a moment it was for him on Friday. He did 368.6 kilometres an hour on the long run down to the first corner, aided by a bit of a slipstream and a tailwind, but he will not care one bit. Now he's going to take that record away from him. Let's get some slipstream action this afternoon. Yet another bronze medal, his 3rd sprint podium of the season for the super consistent and super fast Fabio Di Giannantonio. Let's go down onto the grid though. Federico Chiesa, Italian footballing star, on the grid right now with Jack.
Yeah, Italy star, Liverpool star, Federico Chiesa making his first appearance to MotoGP. I know you're a big fan of the sport, and in particular have a great relationship with Pecco, whose box we're standing in front of. So how much are you enjoying Mugello today?
No, it's incredible. I live in Florence, I grew up in Florence. I've always heard about Mugello, the experience, about the sport in general, and I've always wanted to take part, to be here and enjoy this time, and I'm grateful and honored to be here, and I have to thank Pecco because I have to thank him now, but it's great, and actually I don't want to bother him too much because I'm concentrating on the race, so I don't on the side, but yeah, great experience, actually fantastic, amazing, and it's actually beautiful to see such a place in Italy. Usually we see these kind of places elsewhere, but to give this kind of experience in Italy, my home country.
Pre-match you have to focus so much, kind of stepping out into Anfield, but to jump on board a bike that goes 230 miles an hour, do you compare it in any way?
I cannot imagine what they're going through. I mean, it's so different. It's very, very different. I mean, the preparation to the race, by themselves out there. I mean, we're in a team of 11 players. It's yeah, but actually, that's why I don't want to bother too much. Yeah, but
Great to see you. Hope you enjoyed it.
very much. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, brilliant. I'm loving to glad to hear Federico Chiesa enjoying his MotoGP experience. Of course, yeah, Liverpool Premier League football star. He's been capped over 50 times by the Italian national team, and you're wondering why he's so closely connected to Pecco Bagnaia. Well, he's a former Juventus star, a former Juventus player. We know that when it comes to football, Pecco Bagnaia loyal to Juventus. It's so great to hear Federico Chiesa enjoying his afternoon of sunshine here in the Italian Grand Prix.
There are a few stars of Italian sport here today. We know the Formula One World Championship leader, Kimi Antonelli, 4 consecutive victories, of course, on 4 wheels, is also here today. We're hoping to hear from him during the course of our pre-race build-up as we take a look at Ayagura, the other side of the Trackhouse story from yesterday. Of course, he didn't make it through to qualifying 2, as Raul Fernandez did in that top Q1 session. Ultimately saw only one of them go through alongside Pedro Acosta. So Agura come from 13th on the grid, but did get himself up into the points yesterday. 8th place and checkered flag for I, and we generally do see him go forward from grid to finish.
Bit better left out so far. What's been a stellar weekend as far as the field. Go that all pretty front row of the grid. We'll be hoping to maybe get that battle with Fernandez, Martin and Bezzecchi. One rider who is growing in confidence and certainly growing in stature, upping his pace and his speed right now. Thumbs up for Fermin Aldeguer on the podium for the first time out. Last time in that chaotic Catalonia battle. He's been strong all weekend. 5th place, he'll be on the grid. Top 6 in a couple of practice sessions as well. It seems like he and his Cruci Frankie Carcetti have started to work out the puzzle. How they can get the best about the year-old hand-me-down Ducati GP25. Interestingly, to make the start here out again, get away with that lead group. Wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe fighting for the top 5 where he starts, and maybe even better because he is definitely rich and growing in confidence.
He was great yesterday, Aldeguer. I spoke to him in our MotoGP VIP village and asked him about the feeling of hitting 360 plus kilometers an hour just before you head to San Donato. He said it felt at times like the bike's about to take off, as if I'm about to start flying when you come over that crest over towards San Donato. Of course, these MotoGP bikes nowadays have so much aero pushing them into the ground to stop that from happening. Frankie Morbidelli, who you just saw there on screens, goes from the back of the 3rd row. Yesterday in the sprint when he crashed out after a 4-star, was outside the points and ultimately fell at turn 10.
Talking about fast riders in Mugello, nobody was faster than Frankie in the Italian Grand Prix here last year. He did set the fastest lap in the race for just his 2nd time in his MotoGP career. He'll be looking for someone similar speed to fire himself up in the contention once again in front of his home crowd. As we look at a young man who has a very bright future indeed. Diogo Moreira on the Pro Honda LCR machine. Missing out on a point scoring finish in the sprint yesterday by a second. But he was awesome, wasn't he, at the start? Very, very aggressive. You can just see him there right in the middle of the picture. Straight away, he's darted through on Aldeguer and the Gian Antonio ahead of him. He's going to start picking his way through on the exit of San Donato. He was already up into P4. He started making mincemeat of the likes of Marc Marquez. Ahead of him was Ralph Fernandez, and ultimately took the checkered flag. And what a moment this is for Ralph Fernandez. He was quite simply phenomenal, wasn't he? A rider who literally is riding for his future at the moment. All kinds of talk that he's being moved on by Trackhouse. Because that was not a scene that we saw at the end of the Catalan Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. It was all smiles yesterday between Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola and current Trackhouse boss Davide Brivio. But there has been behind the closed doors meetings. That was on Thursday. All 4 Aprilia riders were called to a special summit by Nawali Factory Management, where after a couple of controversial moments over in Barcelona, Marco Bezzecchi, Jorge Martin, Ralph Fernandez and Ian Gura were sat down and told in no uncertain terms, gentlemen, we expect you to race hard, we expect you to race aggressive, but we also expect you to be clean, and more importantly, we expect you to be respectful.
We don't want to see 2 or 1 of you taking each other out of Grand Prix. Polonia did not win the Catalan Grand Prix. It was Ducati and Gian Antonio that took those honours when Jorge Martin saw a lot of his anger after the Grand Prix in Barcelona. He felt that the way the race was panning out with the 2 restarts, that race could have potentially had his name on it. Aprilia will be hoping that any potential animosity and tension is firmly been put to bed now. Everyone was best friends yesterday after the sprints, but of course they do start 1, 2 and 3 on the grid alongside each other, and all will be desperate to get to San Donato first on that run down from the grid. So potentially pretty top class right there, Martin once again.
Luca Rooney might need some family favours, some brotherly love to keep him on the grid by the GP next season. We know he is surplus to requirements released by the factory Honda team for 2027, the new 850cc powered era in the top class. He's one of 4 Italians that are in contention with Frankie Morbidelli, Nicolo Bulega and Celestino Vietti for a second seat in the VR46 Ducati squad next season. So some family loyalty might be seriously tested in the next few weeks or months or so. Marquez getting himself set for what was going to be his first Grand Prix appearance since his heavy crash when trying to go with brother Alex in the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez, of course. His last competitive action before yesterday was in the Le Mans sprint, doing something about vicious high side, which resulted in the requirement for surgery to repair the fracture in his right foot. Even on this orange rider parade, Mark was still having to come to the parade bus with a special protective boot on that right foot, but I think it's the shoulder over 23 laps, which is going to cause Mark maybe the biggest problem. No question he is getting back to full fitness, but he's not quite there yet, Lewis.
No, and he did say yesterday he did feel like he did have a little less energy, perhaps a little bit more tired. That's going to be natural given what he's been through. Nothing quite prepares you for riding a MotoGP bike like riding one of them. You can do all the training you can in the gym, you can cycle as much as you want, you can do as much running as you want, but nothing quite prepares you for riding a motorcycle around a circuit such as this, the most physical on the calendar. We saw at the start of the sprint yesterday, it's clear that the racing instincts are very much still there for Marc Marquez. The magic and the talent has not gone anywhere as he went from 4th to the lead at the start, but he's going to have to, I guess, just race to the limit of his body today, wherever that ends up being, whether that's the podium, whether that's the top 10. I don't think Marc Marquez is going to push himself beyond his limits today.
What he did say, and he said it all season long, the Ducati is a winning motorcycle. It is a motorcycle that's capable of fighting for the World Championship. The problem is, at no stage in 2026 so far has Marc Marquez been the rider to exploit the maximum potential out of what he clearly feels is a Desmond Sadici GP26 that is good enough to be giving Aprilia a few more headaches than what they have been having so far this year. We can't really make any kind of accurate serious judgment or assessment on Marc when he tells us, okay, yeah, now I do feel like I'm back to fully recovered. Marc Marquez, is he going to maybe be in the fight for his 100th Grand Prix? A winning journey which started all the way back here in Mugello back in 2010. 125cc victory, which that stage, starting to propel Marc Marquez to fame and fortune and racing stardom. A 7 times MotoGP world champion, maybe a future Formula 1 world champion. What a purple patch Kimi Antonelli is currently having. Let's get his thoughts now on the grid with chat.
Yeah, great to once again welcome Kimi back to MotoGP. And you come back in quite the moment for Italian motorsport. You're leading the Formula 1 World Championship, Marco leading the MotoGP World Championship. Just describe the emotion that's within Italy at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Italy is living a great moment so far, and you know, the goal is to keep going like this. Of course, you know, there's also other sports where Italian sportsmen are doing incredible. You know, Yannick Sinner is doing incredible in tennis as well, and also in Winter Olympics, Italy did amazing. So, of course, it's a great moment, and the goal is to keep carrying Italy on to the top of the stage. So, yeah, we're doing our best, but. Yeah, today is an amazing day to be here in Mugello for MotoGP, and I'm really happy.
You know, you have a great relationship with the academy guys. How often are you speaking with Marco? Of course, he leading the championship for the first time, the same to you, going through similar experiences. Have you spoken about what you're living through right now and how vital that relationship might be as you go into the last stage?
Yeah, I mean, we do talk before and after every weekend, and you know, it's cool because we support each other, and actually we share a lot of positive energy with each other, and we also kind of push each other, you know, to go on track and to do better, and it's great because as a driver, when you see a friend doing so well, as well on your side, you want to do as good or even better. So yeah, it's great to see, and obviously I'm very happy to have such a relationship.
I imagine hoping for an Italian win today.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully we can hear the Italian national anthem.
Great to see you here. Enjoy the day, Kim.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful once again to be graced by the presence of Kimi Antonelli, Formula 1 world champion leader, for the best run of his racing career at the moment. 4 successive Formula 1 victories, the most recent last time out in Montreal in Canada. Yeah, very much a close ally of Valentino Rossi and the whole VR46 Academy stable. He'll certainly be cheering on Marco Bezzecchi. Let's go down to one of the stars of yesterday's sprint, Diego Moreira. Can he repeat it? Don't go on, please. Let's get the thoughts from Joe.
Yeah, getting my steps in on the grid today. Diogo, what a performance it was yesterday. You've now, courtesy of this morning, got the photo signed by Mark. The next photo, I guess, is first MotoGP podium. Is that a possibility?
Today will be difficult, no? At the end, you know, will be a... A long race, we just need to finish the race because at the end we need to get hours, you know, but yeah, should be a good one for us.
A good one.
All the brilliant front row then for the first time in MotoGP history.
Yeah, it's Bezzecchi from Fernandez from Martin. Then we have Marc Marquez, Aldeguer, Bagnaia on an old Ducati Road 2. Antonio, the Moreira who we just heard from, and Morbidelli 9th, completing Road 3. Penny across the first KTM, he's ahead of Enea Bastianini, who crashed out of the sprint yesterday. Alex Rins, the first Yamaha on the grid in 12th. Iagora 13 from Brad Binder and Juan Mir. Jack Miller, Fabio Quartararo and Maverick Vinales all promoted up a place by the 3-place penalty for Luca Marini. Torpa Razgatioglu 20th, ahead of Michele Pirro and Cal Crutchlow, who makes his 180th MotoGP start today at the age of 40. Every rider, it would appear at the moment, is going for the medium rear tyre.
Understandably so, given how well that performed over the short format in yesterday's sprint. Great choice that was, wasn't it, by Ralph Sanders. He was committed from Saturday morning. He said after the sprint win yesterday, I told my trackhouse crew the medium's the only option for me to be competitive in that 11-lap sprint yesterday. What a choice that was. Fabio Di Giannantonio said Ducati, no Ducati rider, certainly he didn't even remotely consider running the medium in that 11-lap sprint yesterday. you can see, straight shootout in terms of the Michelin rubber. All riders, all 22 of them, leading the front very tight, just how we like it. We've got a very busy and packed grid here in Mugello. Blazing sunshine ahead of this Brembo Grand Prix of Italy. There is Kimi Antonelli, the Formula One World Championship leader. What a star here. What a talent, as Jack mentioned, to be a fan of it. Italian motorsport, whether it be 2 or 4 wheels. With Antonelli leading the Formula One World Championship, second leading the MotoGP World Championship. Fabio Di Gianantonio, though, has been a pretty persistent thorn in the side of the Aprilia so far this year, hasn't he? Can he do it again here in Mugello? Let's get the thoughts of VR46 boss Pablo Nieto with Jack.
Yeah, Fabio, Italy's leading hope yesterday from the third row of the grid. There's an expectant crowd here, Pablo. Can he do the same again?
Yeah, yesterday was a fantastic race. We know that it's very difficult to start from third row, but anyway, and today's another day, another race. It's going to be much more important the first 2 laps. Try to make a very good start, first laps, and then we will see what happens during the race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, Di Gianantonio came charging. So thanks, Jack. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. From 7th on the grid to yet another sprint podium yesterday. I love that interview, that behind-the-scenes footage we got with him and Valentino Rossi after his brilliant success. The winner, of course, of our most recent Grand Prix in Catalonia. We expect Ligia to be off to the replicated factory team next year. Valentino Rossi saying, are you sure you want to leave? Well, that man knows what it was like to lap fast around Mugello. Loris Capirossi, now part of MotoGP Race Direction. Another Italian who was super quick hitting Mugello. He was here yesterday as well as part of the new Baggers World Cup. It is the maniac himself, Andrea Iannone with Jack.
Yeah, great to have Andrea down here on the grid. The Baggers' newest rider, the Baggers' newest winner. Great job yesterday. In terms of what we're going to see in this MotoGP race, Andrea, what can we expect?
So yes, yesterday we enjoyed a lot. The category, the bike are incredible, unbelievable. So it's really funny to ride the bike, and especially come back here in Mugello for a race. So it's special for me. Now we're waiting the MotoGP start, and so we will see for sure. It will be a really strong race, and but we love everything.
We've seen you fill in on MotoGP bikes before. Is that it? Are you finished with MotoGP, or might you have a surprise in the coming year?
So no, I think so for sure. In full time, I never come back in MotoGP, but never say never. Maybe sometimes possible happen something, and we will see.
Good. Thank you for joining us. See you later.
Yes, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Andrea Iannone, a Moto2 winner here. Of course, he was back in the day. In front of his home crowd, the grid awash with Italian legends and icons. There is Andrea Iannone, just a little bit of an embrace with Pablo Nieto. We've just seen 4 times 250cc world champion, Max Biaggi, MotoGP winner, world superbike champion. Yes, we are chasing you down the grid, Andrea. Loris Capirossi is still very much heavily involved, of course, behind the scenes as part of Race Direction. Marco Melandri's been kicked around, hasn't he, this weekend as well?
Yeah, that's a tyre being ran onto the grid for an Aprilia rider. I don't think that's a change of compound, but we will wait and see. I think it's more just changing an old tyre that he went to the grid with for a brand new tyre to start the Grand Prix with. Well, can Raul Fernandez do the double? He starts from second on the grid. Iagora 13th. Davide Brivio's with Jack.
All day yesterday for Raul for many reasons. He seemed to intimate to us that he might not be with you guys, he might not be on the grids next year. So as a result, is he someone to be feared with nothing to lose, clearly?
No, I told Raul that he won't be with Trackhouse next year. It's just that let's say the renewal didn't really start or negotiate, but that's I mean, it's one of the best options for Trackhouse, I think, to keep Raul. So it's just not confirmed yet.
Yeah, the emotion was obvious yesterday for whatever reason, he wouldn't tell us. So how's he now refocus with obviously a massive opportunity here?
Yeah, I mean, we did yesterday. Yesterday was, I think he did a perfect race. I mean, it was great. Going in front, stay in front for all the race. Of course, we can try again today. It's more difficult. It's a longer race. Everybody on a medium tire, so it's a completely different game today.
But
okay, here we are, and let's try, why not?
Good luck, have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, completely different game over the full distance of 23 laps. Another Italian legend, Franco Uncini, 1982 MotoGP world champion. There's a fair amount of Grand Prix world titles currently matched on the grid. Did a great job there at the main grandstand. The fans lifting up the colours, the green, white and red of the Italian national flag, the Italian tricolore. Are they going to witness Marco Bezzecchi? He said on Thursday in the pre-event press conference it would be a dream come true to win his home ground here in Mugello. Is that dream about to be realised? A dream he's had since he was a schoolboy. When he was knee-high to a grasshopper, it's a dream that he was carrying. Well, he's got a great chance of winning in front of his home crowd here in Italy. He starts from pole position.
So one championship leader, I think, gets set to greet another. Marco Bezzecchi is on his way to the grid. That is his bike that Kimi Antonelli is standing by. He'll be racing in Monte Carlo, the streets of Monaco next week. There couldn't be a greater contrast, could there, in motorsport terms? The tight streets of Monaco and the wide open spaces and the eye-watering speeds of Mugello.
Great shot there. Andrea Migno, a former Moto3 winner here in Mugello. Well, he's gone full Italian. He's got the tricolore haircut, hasn't he? He's brilliant. Of course, still very much heavily involved as a spotter and a rider, coach and analyst for VR46 Ducati. Was it Bastianini after he won in Mazzano? Yeah, he did the full Italian national flag
If you've
hairdo.
got that in your head, you have to win
Yes.
it, which he did.
I'm only jealous. I'm only jealous because I could never do it, of course. Not these days, anyway. So.
Jack Miller making his way. There's the greeting there. Kimi Antonelli greeting Marco Bezzecchi. Let's hear from Pedro Acosta. What can he do from row 4, Jack?
Pedro, tough day yesterday, but we know you're always going to give your maximum on a Sunday and get fighting out there. So, what's possible today?
Well, let's see at the end. Long distance, let's see if looks better than yesterday. Let's try to make a good start and better face lap than yesterday, and then let's see where we are.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Pedro Acosta. Well, we had Laura Bezzecchi yesterday. We've got Silvia Bezzecchi today. So we're going through all the Bez siblings, having the honour of holding the umbrella for brother Marco. That's a special moment, isn't it, for the Bezzecchi family? I'm sure they're all dreaming. They're dreaming already. The fact that Marco Bezzecchi has got himself to the top of the MotoGP World Championship. Bastianini, well, his weekend started in such brilliant fashion when he was top 3 here on Friday, and we thought we were going to be in the game for the top 3 throughout the weekend. There's Massimo Rivola. Respect. Right, not the matches, maybe. Totally cheap there, I have to say, from the side. Yeah, Massimo Rivola just passing on his best, which was a successful and safe race to Ralph Fernandez. Can he complete what would be just the 30th sprint and Grand Prix double win? He'd be the newest rider to do so.
One factory Aprilia to his left and another to his right when he leaves the grid. Ralph Fernandez feels like he is very much racing for himself right now because he's racing for his very MotoGP future. Marquez, the riders understandably in these blazing hot conditions, leaving it as late as possible to come back onto the grid with the national anthem and the grid ceremony just under a minute away.
A special moment to the Grand Prix calendar to the back of the main grandstand. The Italians, they are passionate about all their sport, but in particular motorsport. Star-studded grid. Very, very shortly we'll be getting to hear the Italian national anthem ring out. It'll ring out pre-race. Will it ring out crucially post-race? That's the desires for Marco Bezzecchi and the army of 72 Bez fans here as the riders to their positions ahead of the race grid ceremony. Those two, well, they now share the all-time top speed record in MotoGP, top 2 in the World Championship. Ducati won 7 though of the last 8 Grand Prix here. Can Aprilia create their own headlines here in front of their home crowds? We pause then for the Italian national anthem.
Fratelli
shiver down your spine. Marco Bezzecchi keeping as calm as he can. Will he be challenged by his teammate? Will he be challenged by Ralph Fernandez? Will he be challenged by the factory Ducatis? Davide Tardozzi's for Jack.
Davide, even you had your phone out there taking a video of that. To be an Italian rider on a Ducati in their 100th anniversary race. What is Pecco Bagnaia feeling right now?
Yeah, this morning it felt very good in the warm-up, but honestly yesterday had a disaster start. We hope that today will be better, but anyway we know that with the growing of the temperature, Aprilia's are performing a bit better than us. We'll see. Good start will be important, but 22 laps as usual is a very long race, so we'll see. On the other hand, Mark is training to be 300% at least in 1 month.
Thanks, Davide. Have a good one.
Have been so dominant. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Davide Tardozzi here, mate. In recent years, as mentioned, they won 7 of the last 8 in that period. Fabio Quartararo in 2021, the only rider to top of Ducati on home turf. That is a spectacular shot. It's always magical to come to Mugello. 2026 has been no exception. Brilliant display by the Aero team, sending out the tricolore colours over the grid. But what a day potentially lies in store for Aprilia. What a weekend they've already had. The historic lockout of the front row, the sprint win yesterday, the top speed record. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Massimo Riva and Jack.
Yeah, it's been some weekend for Aprilia so far. For you, Massimo, to see your teammates from the front row of the grid here at Mugello after the national anthem with the flyover going over, this must be one of the most special moments in your tenure as Aprilia boss.
I don't know if special is the right word. In a way, there is a lot of excitement, but personally, I'm saying super tension and super scared about because we have, you know, when you are in front, you have a bigger responsibility, and here in Italy is double. So let's see. We have the pace. As long as they behave, we can do well.
Marco obviously has the weight, the expectation of a record crowd here. How has he managed it so far this weekend and this morning in particular?
It's not easy for him. He's doing great. He delivered a pole, I would say, almost unexpected. So let's see if he can deliver also a race.
Good luck.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Aprilia boss Massimo Riva. Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi delivered something out of this world yesterday. He delivered the first ever 143 lap of this Mugello circuit to take that pole position. He has never, though, as you saw on that graphic, had a podium here in Mugello. In MotoGP terms, he's basically 2022 and 2025. He hasn't got a sprint podium here back in 2023. And a MotoGP front row, his first ever, coming 4 years ago. But he wants the big one. He wants the big prize. He wants to claim a home victory here in front of Mugello to prove that dreams do come true.
Marc Marquez, as we heard from Davide Tardozzi, perhaps the expectation is that in a month's time he's going to be at the peak of his powers once again, which might lead us to think that actually on the Saxoman might be where we see Marc Marquez challenging for that 100th World Free victory in all classes. But I guess today, as he said earlier on in the weekend, he's in a bit of a battle between his head and his heart here. The racing instincts, the natural instincts of Marc Marquez are to go for it, as we saw at the start of the sprint yesterday. But is his body ready to do that?
Fabio Di Antonio, 7th on the grid. Tough start to his home Grand Prix weekend when he was laid low by a bit of a upset stomach, a bit of nausea for Digia. He has bounced back brilliantly. His last 5 GPs, well, what a run he is on. 3rd in Brazil, 4th in Austin, 3rd in Jerez, 4th in Le Mans, and of course victorious last time out in Montmello. First VR40 Racing rider to win in MotoGP since Bentley himself at India back in 2023. The 7th Italian to win back-to-back racing in modern fourth rotary. We're joining a club which features names like Rossi, Dovizioso, Bagnaia, Caparossi, Malandri, and Bezzecchi. Some company he hopes to be keeping in what, about 45 minutes time or so as the grid then starts to clear here under clear blue skies. There's going to be a a vociferous atmosphere, a huge noise when the MotoGP bikes peel away from the front of this grid. For the first time in MotoGP history on a Sunday, 3 Aprilias occupy that front row. Jorge Martin then goes from 3rd place. Ralph Fernandez, your sprint winner, is 2nd, but can Marco Bezzecchi, he said it would be a dream to win here in Mugello, will that come true? He's on pole. The world's fastest riders are ready to create some more magic Mugello memories, some more magic Mugello moments hopefully lie in store as we get set and gear up for the 23-lap Rainbow Grand Prix of Italy. Pecco Bagnaia in 2022, 2023 and in 2024. And most recently, Marc Marquez here last year has seen Ducati dominate their home Grand Prix. They have won the last 4 Sunday showdowns here in the Tuscany Mountains, but can they be toppled? Is today Aprilia's day? So far it has been the Nuali Factory weekend here on home soil. They set a new all-time top speed record of nearly 370 kilometers an hour. There was a blistering pole position from Marco Bezzecchi yesterday, the first ever 143 lap of this Mugello circuit, and they won the sprint yesterday with Trackhouse Racing's Ralph Fernandez. Ducati have locked out the podium in our last 3 Italian Grand Prix. You feel that's going to be some task for the Bologna factory to continue that golden run? And in front of a record crowd in beautiful conditions, grazie Mugello, grazie Italia. Once again, we have a record crowd here at the home of the Italian Grand Prix since 1994. What a moment it is for Mugello. Our first Grand Prix here was all the way back in 1976. There's been plenty of 50th birthday celebrations, plenty of 50th anniversary celebrations throughout this weekend, but who is going to be celebrating here at the end of what are always 23 pulsating laps of this magnificent Mugello circuit? Aprilia have never won here in Mugello. Can they stop Ducati's recent domination? Can Pecco Bagnaia find himself back in P1 in Parc Ferme? Looking off into the distance, it's already a spectacular shot, isn't it? As the red and the yellow flares get popped off on the sun-kissed hillsides. Barely a spare blade of grass available. Current Formula 1 World Champion leader Kimi Antonelli getting himself braced and ready for action. He will have the honour of waving the checkered flag at the end of this 23-lap contest. As Marco Bezzecchi then, for the 11th time in his MotoGP career, will slot into pole position. You can bet your bottom dollar he will not be as conservative as cautious he was in the braking zone for turn 1 as he was in the sprint here yesterday. He dropped back down to 6 on that first lap. Already wins so far for Bez this season in Thailand, in Brazil and in Austin in Texas, but this is the one that he wants. This is the one that all Italian riders want to win, and a spiritual home of Italian Grand Prix racing here in Mugello. This is the one that the home crowd heroes so desperately want to win. Who was going to win though here in Mugello 2026? It's lights out of a racing here in Mugello in MotoGP. It's a great start from pole position by Marco Bezzecchi. Getting away too strongly was Ralph Fernandez, who's going to try and go the long way around the outside. Bezzecchi, you know, is going to be much more strong on the brakes on a long one down through San Donato. Oh, Fernandez goes wide. Ralph Fernandez goes really, really wide, and I think Martin's got through on Bez.
Made a complete mess of that. Martin has got through it, and a Aprilia 1-2. It's a factory Ducati 3-4. That is Pecco Bagnaia straight up into third place.
What a shocker that first corner was then for Ralph Fernandez. He went to the outside, on the outside of Bezzecchi. He was going straight back through. Bit of a head shake there from Martin with a full fuel tank of fresh rubber underneath him as they go through 4 and 5 for the first time. Bez then back at the front.
Look at Bagnaia shaping up too on Jorge Martin, looking at the inside into Casanova and Cervelli. The Ducatis have come to fight on this Sunday afternoon.
Oh, Ralph Fernandez on the front row to 18th through the first sector. Surely his hopes of a dream double win already over here in Mugello.
But you saw just how much Marco Bezzecchi wanted the track position, wanted to be the leader. He doesn't want to be following Jorge Martin at any stage of this Grand Prix. Does Martin try and strike back early? Down into Scarperia. Bezzecchi just pulling out a bike lane or two.
Through the flares, through the smoke. The Gian Antonio's had a shocker as well. Started 7th. Vigia is stuck outside the top 10 in 12. He's gone the wrong way. Once again, he just can't start that GP26, can he? After all, Fabio Di Gianantonio, he's got it all on to get himself back into the podium places.
Yes, the big winners outside of the top 4 we're looking at. Acosta's up to 6th and Iagora up to 7th. They've each gained 6 places.
So Ralph Fernandez has got himself back up in the 17th place, but it's been a horror show on the first lap for Trackhouse and the sprint winner of yesterday. So then now we're going to power down this start finish straight. Aprilia here on Friday, they set the fastest ever recorded top speed in MotoGP. They go through the gearbox. Martin trying to pick up some slipstream. He's going to be close enough to attack Bez on the brakes into San Donato. He's got the inside line. Is he going to get it stopped? Because there was a big head shake there from Martin. He's going to run in hot. He's going to run in wide. Got to be careful here where he comes back on the inside line. Marc Marquez, though, he's up into 2nd place.
That's Bagnaia on the Ducati 2nd. Marc Marquez is 4th, so it's now Bezzecchi and Bagnaia, Italian 1-2 at the Italian Grand Prix, and they're already putting a bit of space between themselves and Acosta, who's now taken Aldeguer for 5th.
That was never going to work out for Martin. He got the slipstream behind Bezzecchi, so he was getting dragged into that braking zone for San Donato. 5, 6, 7 kilometres faster than normal. Had to adjust his braking marker. So desperate he was, though, to break the rhythm of Bez at the front. We know what a good front runner Marco Bezzecchi is, but now it's Pecco Bagnaia who's picked up that baton. Rob Bobby Martin through the spectacular right-handers of Albiata 1 and 2. They'll start climbing up then through the hill now. This is turn 9.
You mentioned Gian Antonio not getting on top of his start problems. Clearly Pecco Bagnaia did. No signs of the wheelie problems he had at the start of the sprint yesterday. Gian Antonio in the back of the picture looked like he was trying to make some progress from his rotten start. He's out of the top 10 still. He's up behind Brad Bittner's KTM.
Bagnaia is 3rd place in that shortened Catalan Grand Prix a couple weeks ago. His first visit to the podium since Motegi, his glorious victory in the Motegi Mountains last October. He's only podiumed in the last 11. Here comes Bagnaia then through Biondetti 1 and 2. He's going to be close enough to maybe show his wheel to Bezzecchi on the brakes into the final corner. Bezzecchi's too good. All about now just nailing your corner speed, nailing your lines, pick up the top at the perfect moment because you're in the slipstream here, you're in the game here, Bagnaia. Can he pick up some slipstream on that factory Ducati?
We know what an expert he is around this Mugello circuit. He is now in the slipstream. Here's Bagnaia about to lead the Italian Grand Prix as he goes to the left of Marco Bezzecchi, and Bagnaia does hit the front once again in Mugello.
Can he get it stopped? Can he get it stopped? That's the big question. Marc Marquez runs in a little bit hot. Pedro Acosta will run to the inside line. Acosta rubbing shoulders with his future factory Ducati teammate through San Donato. Acosta's the fastest rider on circuit with a 1:45.563. Marquez, you just know he was not going to give up that position without an almighty fight. Marc then back up into P4, but Pecco Bagnaia then leads here in front of his home crowd. Already a 3-time winner here in Mugello. He is back at the front.
2022, 2023, 2024. Can he what would feel like an improbable victory after what we saw yesterday, and 2026 to his roll call of Mugello victories? The 63s are all over the grandstands here. They love Pecco Bagnaia dearly, and of course it would have hurt him so much last year, a feeling that he's missed to be fighting at the front in the latter stages of an Italian Grand Prix. Of course, he led early on here last year. Can he stick around this year?
First time in 2026 we have seen the 63 Ducati at the front of the Grand Prix. He has not led a MotoGP race since Sepang last year, and of course he was cruelly denied a podium with the Michelin rear tyre puncher. Further down the field, Fabio Di Gianantonio has got himself back inside the top 10. Ralph Fernandez recovering after his shocking first lap and his shocking first corner. He's recovered to 13th.
That was a big head shake for Martin on the way to Biondetti. That's cost him a bit of ground. You can see the gap's now opened up behind Marco Bezzecchi, and he's reversed back towards Marc Marquez, who understandably, as we saw in the early stage of the sprint yesterday, not quite getting up to speed yet and fighting a rearguard action.
Herrera picked off Bastianini for 8th on the last lap. He's recovered that place back though, has the Beast. Looks like that further down the order. Yeah, Bagnaia, fastest lap of the Grand Prix as we ride on board with Marc Marquez, up to almost 360 kilometres an hour. Bagnaia 145.470. Talk about being up for your home Grand Prix.
He is so pumped up for this, isn't he? Because last year it hurt him so much when he didn't even make the podium after the early battle with the Marquez brothers. That moment for Jorge Martini cost him the best part of 4 tenths of a second. He went from 2 tenths behind his teammate Bettis to over half a second behind him. The top two, the only two riders in the 145s on that lap.
Another impressive ride by the recovering Fermin Aldeguer. He took another outstanding job in 6th place on the Gresini Ducati. Well, there it is. We did not expect to see him this far back, did we, at this early stage of this Grand Prix? But Raul Fernandez, well, he was 18th or 19th. He got a really good start, and he went side by side briefly with Marco Bezzecchi on the run down to the first corner, but just in too hot. Way he did actually well not to go ploughing into the gravel trap there, did he, number 25? But in terms of his hopes for a podium here in Mugello, well, it was over after 1 corner of this Grand Prix.
The rear tyre skipped up slightly, whether it was just the draft up behind Bezzecchi's Aprilia, and that's the sinking feeling for Davide Brivio, who will have known already at that point that hopes of a double for Raul Fernandez were already gone.
Or was it also in his mind the pre-weekend pep talk about racing hard and racing fair? I mean, was he worried about maybe having some contact there in the slipstream behind Bezzecchi? Just had to let the brake off and dive to the left-hand side. We'll find out post-race. Acosta then now continue to build and pile this pressure on the 93 of Marc Marquez. About to find Pepe Bagnaia, almost 4 tenths of a second clear of Marco Bezzecchi. Over the line we go. 45.6 from Bagnaia. 45.8 for Martin in 3rd. That's his best lap of the Grand Prix so far. Acosta not close enough to attack Marquez on the brakes on the long run down to San Donato. We saw this, didn't we, on the early part of the Grand Prix. And once again, shoulder to shoulder goes Marc Marquez and Pedro Acosta. There's a bit of ego at play here.
Yeah, more to the point, it is the right shoulder that Marc Marquez is, of course, coming back from the injury that missed the last couple of Grand Prix. He's got a pair of injuries that he had after the French Grand Prix, and he's often in right-handers, where we're seeing Marc Marquez just struggling a little bit to turn that factory Ducati.
What a story could be unfolding here for Pepe Bagnaia. Ducati's 100th year, their centenary year. If he could win in Mugello, what a story that would be. It would be one of the best wins of his Grand Prix career, and he has had a few having to call upon in the back catalogue. But Bagnaia at the moment looking so good at the front of this battle. Marco Bezzecchi, just wonder whether Marco Bezzecchi maybe just sitting off Bagnaia's rear tyre, doesn't want that front tyre temperature and pressure to start going through the roof.
So he doesn't want that. Maybe that's what Martin's doing too in 3rd place. Of course, that gap opened up because of the mistake he made on the head shake into Biondetti, but he's not exactly cruising up to the back of the top two at this stage. Content the in 3rd place with that gap to Marc Marquez growing behind him. Fabio Di Gianantonio, he's now up into 8th place. He's passed Moreira on the previous lap, and now Bastianini on this lap. He's got a 2nd and 3/4 to try and make up to close up onto the back of that Marquez Acosta Aldeguer Agura group.
The Italian fans are going to be loving this at the moment, aren't they? They've got all Italian bikes on the podium, and at the moment 2 of their own, 2 of their heroes are going toe-to-toe, jousting it out here for the win in Mugello. Over the line we go. Bagnaia, Bezzecchi and Martin, they're all finally back into the 146s. Nothing at all between Bagnaia and Bezzecchi. 46 flats from the Italians at the front of this Grand Prix. Marc Marquez is somehow still holding up Pedro Acosta's factory KTM. The Gianantonio is starting to recover lost ground and find his rhythm. He's picked off Bastianini on that last lap, so Digi now up into P8.
Aldeguer and Agura have now firmly joined that Marquez Acosta battle. Here it is now coming into your picture. Marc Marquez is half second or so off the race-leading pace at the moment. Aldeguer and Agura much closer to the race-leading pace, which is now you can see the 54 up behind Acosta, which will occupy Pedro's mind, and Agura is now starting to join that battle too.
This is the best we've seen Bagnaia since he dominated the weekend at the Japanese Grand Prix. That unforgettable weekend for Ducati, when Marc Marquez was crowned world champion for the 7th time. We're on board then with Acosta. Spectacular right hand. Look at that. elbow dragging on the tarmac for Mark throughout the attitude. That is some commitment. This is why these are the very best in the world, the fastest track in the world, being tackled by the fastest riders in the world. And Marc Marquez, well, he's defending quite superbly.
Nothing wrong with the 93 under braking, because it looked like Acosta was having a half a thought of going through into Scarperia as Marc Marquez taking a bit of a wider line, but that'll be absolutely fine. He'll be able to punch out towards Biondetti. And Taldeguer on the 54 behind him, and Diagora. Antonio is starting to chip away himself in 8th place. You can see him on the PR policy scat top of the picture. Acosta decides he's not going to wait any longer to go through on Marc Marquez, but can he hold it down this long pit straight?
That's been coming. That has been coming. You do get the impression that Marc's been a bit of a rolling roadblock there as a KTM, but he's not going to give it up. If you look at this, the Ducati, he just got the better drive, did he, coming out of that final corner, did Marc. Can Acosta dishes straight back into the braking zone for Fernando? He can't. The KTM was a bit out of shape, wasn't it? As he squeezed a handful of brake, accelerating it up almost 300 kilometers an hour in about 250 meters into the G-forces there on the upper body. Unbelievable on that run down to San Donato. At the moment, Bagnaia still keeping that second around the front gap, still hovering close to 3/10 of a second.
Bezzecchi confident enough in the Aprilia's ability to just manage its tyres a little bit better. We know the front end of that Aprilia is absolutely brilliant. It's why it's so strong around a circuit such as this. Is he just playing the waiting game, expecting Bagnaia to potentially drop off in the latter stages? We know Bagnaia is an absolute master. If anyone knows the key to victory here at Mugello, it's the two-time MotoGP champion who leads this race.
These two want this. They want it massively. Bagnaia just wants to have that sweet taste of victory once again here in Mugello as Acosta just with a bit of a block pass there. He's on the inside of Marc Marquez. Lost all of his momentum there, did he, Marc, with that move by Acosta down in the Scarperia, almost around the outside of him when Fermin Aldeguer through Pelagio. He does just about hold off the 54 by behind him, but now he finally worked his way through into that 4th place. What has Pedro Acosta's pace now? There's been a clear road ahead of it.
So recovery this for Acosta, isn't it, from 10th on the grid. Of course, a strong first lap and a lot of the hard work there. And Marc Marquez is now under pressure from another rider who I guess has looked up to him over the years. Fermin Aldeguer on the Cassini, who's going to try and take that tighter line, and he's going to force Marc Marquez to jump out of his way. And now Marc Marquez is down to 6th place.
It's a good this lap for Ralph Fernandez. He's picked up both Binder and Moreira, and has finally got himself back up inside the top 10. The sprinters three abreast they go. Big wheelie over the crest there for Pedro Acosta as he was full gas and full power on the factory KTM. It's now Marc Marquez put himself somehow back into P4. Here comes Aldeguer. No love lost at all between Aldeguer and Acosta as they go through turns 2 and 3. Iron Gilmer's eyes are going to be lighting up at this one, aren't they, at the moment? Now they'll attack now towards the second flip-flop through turns 4 and 5. Marc Marquez then still fighting with every ounce of his talent, every ounce of his skill set to somehow keep himself in P4.
Acosta, he got through into Scarperia, and at that point he must have thought, right, I can get my head down now, I can get on with my race and try and pull clear of this group that I've been stuck in for the entire Grand Prix so far. Next time he got down to turn 1, he was swamped from both sides by Ducatis.
You see that top left-hand corner of your screens. Has just stretched his lead to over 4/10 of a second. That's the biggest advantage he's had over at Bezzecchi. Coming back into contention for this back of the 4 places. The Antonio, he was a lot quicker than those ahead of him while they sort of tripped themselves up. We saw Acosta high 146s, so too Aldeguer. Marquez is back in the 47s. The Antonio's last lap was a 146.3. So the Antonio was clearly, obviously, got the pace to drag himself right back into this group.
Aldeguer miles wide there into Corantayo and just allowed Acosta through there into 5th place. So we're pretty much back where we were a lap and a half ago in this particular battle as they deliberately go wide because you want to give yourself the best possible slingshot onto this 1 kilometre pitch straight. And Pedro Acosta knows better than anybody how important that run is because he got swamped a lap ago.
See how hard Marquez is pushing that successive laps now where we've tracked him through 15 and on the power with a lot of lead angle. Big twitches there. He just lights up that rear tyre. He is just throwing everything at this, isn't he, Marc Marquez? How long can his body and that recovering right shoulder hang in there? I mean, he's, what, 2 or 3 weeks fresh out of double surgery. I mean, operations on his right foot and his right shoulder at the same time, and yet here he is, keeping Pedro Acosta, Fermin Aldeguer and Diagora behind him at the front. It's been kind of as you were since Pecco Bagnaia struck in the early part of this Grand Prix. Bezzecchi just sitting, what, about a dozen bike lengths, maybe a little bit less off the rear tyre of Pecco Bagnaia. What has Bez got in the second half of this Grand Prix? Maybe to complete what he said would be a dream win here in Mugello.
As you saw there on your screens, the fastest rider in the top three on the last lap was Martin, who was a second off the back of Bezzecchi at 46.1. That was a tenth quicker than Bagnaia, 2 tenths quicker than Marco Bezzecchi. Martin still very much in play here, still very much in contention for victory here in Mugello in third place. And it's Gian Antonio, who's clearly the next fastest rider on the track once again, as he zooms up to the back of the back, and you can just see the top of your screen.
Saw going to Scott Mark still popping up Augusta in fourth place. Very targeted in factory Ducati Congress in 2027. You can just see there Almaguer looking for the recovery Spaniard. Here we go then, into turn 15 on the brakes. It's like 9 of 23, so we're approaching halfway distance. These two at the front, they have not put a foot wrong, have they? Bagnaia versus Bezzecchi. MotoGP's trash talkers going toe-to-toe here down the 360km/h start finish straight. And once again, Bagnaia's advantage just come down to under a quarter of a second. Bezzecchi was slightly quicker on that last lap.
Slightly wide there for Bagnaia, but once again, that'll give him the good run up towards turn 2. Of course, we've already spoken of the Marquez-Acosta battle of future teammates at the factory Ducati team next season. The expectation is that what you're looking at on the screen now will be the factory Aprilia combo in 2027 and beyond, with reports that Bagnaia has signed a very lucrative long-term deal with the factory Aprilia team. He's about to deal out a blow to his best friend and his future teammates' hopes of having the #1 on his bike next year.
Who's going to get the bragging rights back in Sevilla tonight? Who's going to be able to say, I won the 2026 Italian Grand Prix in the VR46 Academy? This is building and building up to a pretty intense battle, isn't it? A game of chess at the moment, a game of cat and mouse. Mid-race between Bagnaia and Bezzecchi. Keeping a watching brief in third place is Jorge Martin. This is vintage Bagnaia. This is Bagnaia. We've missed so much over the last year or 18 months or so. What a story it would be for Bagnaia to claim his first win of the season right here in front of a record crowd in Mugello to celebrate Ducati's 100-year anniversary celebrations.
It's a feeling they've missed as well. It's a feeling that Gigi Dall'Igna has missed. Of course, we've had 2 victories already this season for Ducati riders, Alex Marquez and Fabio Gian Antonio. But Bagnaia's winning Bezzecchi last season was also the last time the factory Ducati team won a MotoGP Grand Prix. That is not the kind of losing streak they want to continue any longer.
It's closing. He's going to feel that Bezzecchi is just trying to turn the whip a little bit here. The gap would come down to under a quarter of a second at the end of that previous lap. It's going to be close now. Bagnaia got great drive out the front corner yet now. Bagnaia is under pressure. Bagnaia is under serious pressure here. He has been pretty much around the Grand Prix, but not this close. Into San Donato we go. Through the first corner, you'll start the climb on then now into turn 2. A tenth of a second and a little bit more. The gap between Pecco and Bez.
While Martin is still a second and change off the back of this leading pair, Bezzecchi does have the luxury of being able to bide his time a little bit. Yellow flags have come out at turn 1. So if Jorge Martin starts to close in, then maybe Bezzecchi's approach might have to change. I think it's Alex Rins, of course, it is indeed Rins, who started, of course, on the 4th row of the grid, made Q2 on Friday.
Painful memories for the Spaniard, of course, and some very serious leg fractures here in the 2023 sprint when he was part of LCR Honda. Alex Rins' factory Yamaha goes hurtling through the gravel trap. You saw a thumbs up there from Alex, so thankfully he looks like he's A-OK. Diego Moreira's now in 12th place. He got cashed recently by Brad Binder. Bastianini still inside the top 10 on the Tech3 KTM. His teammate Maverick Vinales finding his way back to full fitness. His way down in 19th place.
It's Raul Fernandez, who's now past Bastianini. He's up into 9th place, and he's now about to join this group that's led by Marc Marquez from 4th all the way down to what is currently 8th. With Fabio Gian Antonio. They conceded a 46.3 last time, Raul Fernandez. He's the fastest rider on the racetrack, but unfortunately it was all lost at turn 1.
Yeah, he'll be ruining that one. There'll be some regret for Raul Fernandez after this Italian Grand Prix, because without any question, he had the pace. He had the pace to be in this battle. Certainly for the Kobe, maybe with Roy Martin, maybe better. Sadly, we will never know because of the mistake he made right here. 146.5 from Jorge Martin. That was a big lap. Big lap that by the Martinator. Some lap 11 of 23 from Jorge Martin as we close to the halfway point. Martin was 4 tenths faster than Bezzecchi and 3 tenths faster than Pecco Bagnaia.
He decided now is the moment to use a bit of the pace he's got, use some of the tyre that he's got, and get himself into the battle with the top two. And as I mentioned a couple of laps ago, if Marco Bezzecchi just biding his time there behind Pecco Bagnaia, that strategy might have to change soon if his teammate and tighter rival cruises up to the back of him.
Second fastest rider on that last lap behind Jorge Martin was Marc Marquez. I mean, how the heck is Marc still producing high 146, mid 146 on that back three Ducati? Showing no signs of the fatigue we really might encounter. Cal Crutchlow has pitted on the LCR Honda. It's been a real tough return to MotoGP. This was his first competitive action at MotoGP since the Japanese round in 2023. He's maybe got some kind of technical issue there. Back in the front though. Back in this lead group, we've got still Bagnaia resisting Bezzecchi. Still there now in the same picture briefly. That was Jorge Martin. Back around the turn 10. Bastianini. Well, he dumped it at Scarperia in the sprint yesterday, and unfortunately, he's back in the gravel trap at the very same corner. So in front of his home crowd, a potential double DNF incoming for the Beast, who's had a bit of a nightmare as Bezzecchi really does close him on the rear tyre. Bagnaia going through the final corner. Now it's just a drag race on the brakes. Now they'll attack hard into San Donato over this blind crest. Here comes Bezzecchi just building and building momentum, building and building speed. When will he feel like it's the optimal moment to try and have a look on the inside of Bagnaia?
The most obvious opportunity to overtake is there into San Donato, but Bagnaia gets off Puccini in the final corner very well, and even in the slipstream, that Aprilia didn't exactly gobble up the Ducati, did it? Down the main straight, still absolutely nothing wrong with that Desmos Adichie GP in a straight line. So Bezzecchi will have worked out by now that he's not just giving an easy mirror signal maneuver pass down the main straight. Maybe he's got to plot a move elsewhere on Bagnaia.
He's sick of seeing plus 0.2, plus 0.3 his pinboard right now, isn't he? 72, Marco Bezzecchi behind him. Pecco Bagnaia has been picture perfect so far in this Grand Prix. Through Arrabbiata 1, we go. We're on board with Bezzecchi then, just over 150 odd kilometres an hour through that turn 8. Rising up now through 9. We're going to go down the hill once again to Scarperia. This is where we lost Bastianini on the previous lap out of the top 10.
Martin again was approaching quicker on the last lap, only a 10th to Bezzecchi and 2 tenths to Bagnaia, but he's continuing to just become an ever-growing, looming presence up behind his teammate. Remind you, 12 points the difference at the moment between Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin. Put the flag out now, Bezzecchi would extend that advantage by a further 4 points. Of course, an extra 5 points up for grabs if he can take his very good friend Pecco Bagnaia for the lead.
There's still a long way to go in this Grand Prix. 11 laps to go. They'll certainly be down to the last 10. This has been a bit of a game of strategy, hasn't it, so far? As Marco Bezzecchi just been content to sit on that rear tyre of Bagnaia just to manage his pace. This feels like, once again, it's the closest he has been. He starts now to gobble up the space. Behind line here, they go side by side. Bez versus Bagnaia. This is the moment then with 10 to go, where Marco Bezzecchi has decided this is his moment. So Marco Bezzecchi then back at the front here in Mugello. What have you got, Bagnaia?
He wasn't prepared to wait any longer. Time to make the move with 10 laps to go. Bagnaia now with a big question in front of him. Of course, with Marco Bezzecchi taking the lead, Martin, of course, still in the action. There's a huge gap, nearly 4 seconds back to Marc Marquez in 4th place. Bagnaia, of course, it's his home Grand Prix. He'll try absolutely everything, but has he got an answer?
Well, look at this already. Bez has stretched away from him in the blink of an eye in the space of, what, 5 or 6 corners. Bezzecchi has already gone almost 3/10 of a second. He's now almost half a second clear of Bagnaia. Through, this is a lovely move. This is a textbook move into San Donato. We knew once he got level with Bagnaia in the braking zone, he had that inside line. That was over as a contest. He just had to run that line through the middle of that corner. As Acosta still cannot find a way through on Marc Marquez. These two have been within arm's length of each other throughout this. Marquez hanging on to 4th place. What?
Yeah, even with a recently repaired shoulder, even at maybe 60-70% of his people looking at this condition, Marquez is saying to Pedro Acosta, you're going to have to try a lot harder than that to move me aside, even for 4th place.
Well, these two had some close combat in Bullrun, didn't they? Here comes Acosta. He's going to line up a move into turn 15. Got the inside line. That worked beautifully. Set it all up through beyond he wanted to, but you just knew, didn't you, that firing it straight away underneath him, through the final corner, goes Marc Marquez. Some fighters between 93 and 37 at the front. Marco Bezzecchi, well, he did a 146.2 right at the moment when Bagnaia slipped into the 47s, and out of nowhere, in one lap, Bezzecchi took a second out of Bagnaia.
Yeah, and so did Jorge Martin. Martin took half a second, and he's now right behind Bagnaia. So is this just the Aprilias flexing their muscles now? They're still in the 46s, because we've got Agura doing 46.7s too in 6th place. This is the second half of the race when the tyre wears out. Aprilia are stretching clear.
What is Marc Marquez going to be capable of doing when he is fully fit and fighting right back at the peak of his powers? He feels like, in terms of his race pace, he's been losing half a second with that compressed radial nerve, the screws pressing on the radial nerve in the first part of this season. That's all been corrected and rectified, but trust us, he is not anywhere near 100% his physical best at the moment, which makes this ride just absolutely phenomenal. Right out of the top draw this time. Marquez Acosta going to have another look down the hill into Scarperia. He's not close enough, is he? Not close enough. That red Ducati is as wide as Bologna's motorway right now, isn't it?
He's tried just about everywhere, hasn't he? Pedro Acosta, he's tried it into Scarperia, he's tried it into San Donato, he's tried it into Pacini as well, and every time he's made the move, Marc Marquez has whistled past him almost immediately. So where else can the KTM star plot a move past his future teammate, we believe?
Martin's going to gobble up Bagnaia very, very quickly. Pecco Bagnaia started this lap, 4/10 of a second clear. And once again, Acosta on the inside of Marc Marquez. This time around, he's just going to make sure that you're going to stay on the outside this time around, mate. As Jorge Martin then now winds it up through the Aprilia gearbox. Surely this is going to be second place. Surely this is going to be a fairy tale 1-2 here. Fair play to Bagnaia. He's really trying to tough it out on the brakes. He knows it is coming. He really did. Fair play to Pecco. Fighting fire with fire. He knows that grip's fading underneath him, but he toughed it out on the brakes. Martin, though, just a little bit stronger. Acosta has finally got through once again in San Donato. Is this finally Acosta potentially securing 4th place? Might it get any better if Pecco Bagnaia really...
Only 5 seconds up the road to Bagnaia, so it would have to be a major drop-off. But Bagnaia, of course, has had some issues already this season where mechanical issues out of his control have taken him out of the action. Was back in Jerez when the Ducati broke down. So Acosta now clear of Marc Marquez, and is that finally 4th place for keeps for the number 37? And I think Marc's bigger problem here isn't Acosta. It's Agura on the Trackhouse Aprilia, who is still doing 146s in 6th place. Once again, the Aprilias finishing faster.
This is Digia. Nice move, that. Lovely move on Aldeguer going through Arrabbiata 2. So Fabio Di Gianantonio, they're now on the fringes of the top 6 himself. Once again cursing a pretty poor launch. That VR46 Ducati. 1.5 seconds, or 1.4 seconds was the gap between Bezzecchi and Martin. Once Jorge had got through in the 2nd place, so we'll be monitoring that very, very closely, because is there anything left in Jorge Martin's locker in terms of maybe a surprise late victory bid?
Bagnaia has also already lost a heap of time to this group we're watching on this lap. He was 4.7 behind ahead of the start of the lap. It's down to just 4 seconds already, and we're 3 seconds of the way through. Still another 7 laps to go as they cross the line now. So Bagnaia's already barbecued his tyres. He's in for a world of trouble in the latter stages. Crossline at 48.0 for Pecco Bagnaia. If that kind of pace persists, he'll reverse back towards the group that his teammates leading.
He went all in, didn't he? Nothing to lose.
Through again.
Marc Marquez has got back to on Acosta. He's going to try, he's going to lean, isn't he? Lean on Acosta. Acosta leans back. What a battle it would be between the 2 Spaniards. This is just superb to watch. Marco Bezzecchi then is 1.5 seconds clear of Jorge Martin. Yeah, Bagnaia rolled the dice and chucked it all on red, didn't he? And it hasn't come up trumps, unfortunately, for him. I mean, yeah, he's in the 48s now. I mean, it was 1.2 seconds slower than Martin on that 16th lap. He's still got 6.5 laps to keep going here.
Yeah, continues at that pace. He's going to lose that podium position. Of course, no idea who he might lose it to, because any one of 5 riders could win this particular battle. We're on board along with Agura, looking up at Marc Marquez, who, I guess, surely his shoulder and his whole body here must be aching. This is a physical circuit anyway. If you're at 100%, never mind the situation Marc Marquez is currently in.
This is adrenaline. This is pure outright adrenaline that's keeping Marc in this battle, and an awful lot of talent and skill thrown in as well. To be in this fight, 2 or 3 weeks fresh out of surgery, just shows them the class that he possesses. Gian Antonio will still feel like he might have something later in this battle. We know how good Didier is at managing his tyres. How much rubber, though, did he have to use and burn up to get himself back into contention for these positions, because he was down as low as 12th.
He's still losing time to this group, but he's only lost around about 3-4 tenths on this lap so far. If he loses it at that sort of rate, he should be fine for that final place on podium. Bezzecchi's still doing 46s. 46.6 for him. He's way quicker than anyone else. It's a real statement from Bezzecchi as Marc Marquez continues to annoy his future teammate Pedro Acosta. 93 versus 37. Can he get that Ducati stopped? Not quite, but he's going to have the inside line, but Acosta moves through, and is Ayagura about to stick his nose in as well?
Dropping across the Agura's nose was Marc, having run wide into that first corner. Marc Marquez has not completed a Grand Prix since March. The Austin Grand Prix in Texas. He's pretty much ring rusty, isn't he? He was out very early on in the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez as he tried to run the early pace of brother Alex. And so we're going into the territories of races where he's pushing his brain and his body to places he hasn't been too often so far this season. Agura then briefly sensed that he was going to get through on the 93. Looks like it might be over at the front. Marco Bezzecchi has just taken a lead of over 2 seconds for the first time in this Grand Prix ahead of Jorge Martin. It's Jorge Martin, like it in the sprint yesterday, just locking down, batting down the hatches and going, well, let's just think championship, let's think bigger picture here.
Here comes Agura.
Yeah, that's lovely. On the inside of Marc, just squeezing him out to the paintwork, going through Scarpa and around the outside, then goes Fabio de Gian Antonio. So Agura and de Gian Antonio then now sweep on the inside of Marc.
Pedro Acosta won't have seen that because he's ahead, but Ayagura will say, this is how you do it. This is how you pass Marc Marquez and make sure that he's going to be in no position to fight back once again. Ayagura up into 5th place. It doesn't look like we're going to get a pretty lockout on this occasion of the podium, but they might have 3 in the top 4 yet.
Now we know Acosta is good at managing his tyres, so too is Agura. We're looking at Agura and the Gian Antonio, who so far this season have excelled in terms of their late race pace. Marc Marquez, well, I think 4th place would have been a sensational result. He's going to cross the line in 7th, which is still a strong finish. He's going to attack again, isn't he? Is he going to attack the Gian Antonio? Of course he is. This is Marc Marquez. This is Marc Marquez. It's in his DNA. It's just a natural instinct that he was born with. He's got back through on the Gian Antonio. Gian Antonio, well, these two have already had a few slugfests so far, haven't they, in 2026?
Don't know whether that was a left leg of apology for Gian Antonio or whether it was just him pushing as hard as he can. Either way, he's now up into the top 6. Gian Antonio's had the pace without question to be battling for the podium here, potentially with Pecco Bagnaia, but of course far too much damage done on that first lap. This battle for 4th races on between Acosta and Agura, and they are now around 3 seconds behind the fading Pecco Bagnaia, but I don't think he's fading enough to lose a place on the podium.
Martin has clearly decided, I'm going to settle for 2nd in the sprint, and I'll settle for 2nd in the Grand Prix. Let's pick up the maximum potential points we can. Beaten by Ralph Anderson, brilliant yesterday. Potentially being beaten by Bezzecchi's a brilliant today. Once again, just like he did in 2024, he was always there. He was always a kind of permanent fixture, wasn't he, on the podium places, be it the sprint or the Grand Prix. He knows that points make big prizes, Martin. He's picking up another valuable 20 this afternoon.
Ayagura, remember, has come from 13th place on the grid. Yet again, qualifying out of the position for at least what his race pace is, and it potentially might cost him a podium, unless he can pass Acosta very, very quickly and unleash some of the late race pace he's got to chase down Pecco Bagnaia. We'll have 4 more laps to go, and Ayagura, 4th is very much on the table here. If you can attack and act quickly, could you still be better?
2.7 seconds, the gap at the front between the factory and Aprilia as we ride on board with Agura. Look at that. And Aprilia absolutely powering past Pedro Acosta's KTM. They both go sideways. They're both snaking left and right, trying to squeeze every bit of braking performance. Well, Agura just closing the door there on Acosta. One of them maybe lost a little bit of aero, a little bit of... They've had their late tangles. They clashed at the very last corner of that shortened Catalan Grand Prix. It cost Ayagura a 3-second post-race penalty. He's very apologetic in Pedro Acosta's motorhome after that particular incident. He might be knocking on a Costa's motorhome door once again this afternoon.
Definitely saw something drop off onto the racetrack. I don't know whether it was one of those fender wings on the KTM that dropped off. I think it was just on the above the front fender. As now Gian Antonio is about to make Acosta's lap even worse as he loses another place. These are the two riders on the move, motoring in these latter stages. Agura and Gian Antonio. And the fact that Agura is now fourth will, I think, alarm the factory Ducati team.
You have to feel for Acosta. Once again, he's absolutely run the neck of that KTM, and just like he did in Barcelona over that short race, he started the last lap, didn't he, in Catalonia second, and we thought, well, he's going to get a reward over the podium, and we saw that there was just, he had no grip late on whatsoever. He was going to be picked on the fun. He was going to be relegated back to fifth place by Agura had he not been sent careering into the gravel trap by the Japanese rider in that final corner. Once again, it looks like Acosta is just running out of grip at the most crucial phase of this Grand Prix.
Well, this is, without question, the class-leading motorcycle in MotoGP right now. This is a comfortable 1-2 we are looking at for the factory Aprilia team. Bagnaia is 5 seconds off the race lead in third. 2.1 he is now ahead of Ayagura, who might yet still give Aprilia a little bit of a sniff of a podium lockout. Is 3 laps enough for Ayagura to chase down Pecco Bagnaia for third place?
Like back-to-back third place for Bagnaia. Further down the field, this is the battle for the final spot in the top 10. It's in the hands of Brad Binder on the back to KTM. Binder is 10th. He's got 3 Hondas for company behind him, led by Mir. There is Moreira, you can see him 12th. Marini there in 13th. Not a bad recovery by Marini after his 3-place grid penalty. Points at the moment as well for Morbidelli and Razgatlioglu. We barely mentioned that with the Yamahas. Razgatlioglu at the moment. He's top the Yamaha. We've lost Alex Rins at turn 1 a few laps to go, but there's a bit of a Yamaha squabble further back. Razgatlioglu 3/10 clear of Quartararo. He in turns about a quarter of a second ahead of Miller, but that's for 15th, 16th and 17th. Some scout that will be for top back to be a former Magello winner here in 2021, Fabio Quartararo.
And one of Yamaha's former employees is also at the back of that group. Maverick Vinales in 18th place on the Tech 3 KTM. Disappointing afternoon for him. Of course, you have to remember he's also recently returning from a pretty serious injury. Following the gap between Bagnaia and Agura, it's holding pretty steady at the moment on this lap. Bagnaia just has enough pace at this stage in those sort of low to mid 47s. The gap's still over 2 seconds. It now comes down to 1.8 through the third sector, but Agura at the moment is not closing quick enough.
Bezzecchi quite rightly is going to get the accolades. He's going to get the plaudits and the headlines here in Italy for what looks like a nailed-on home Grand Prix success, but you have to doff the cap to Jorge Martin. He had 6 crashes in 4 days in a bruising Barcelona Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. He was hospitalised after that 6th crash at the Monday test. He's rebounding in stunning fashion here as Acosta goes in on into San Donato. From a double win in Le Mans to a double DNF in Catalonia, back to a double podium here, it looks like, for Martin and Mugello.
It's going to be pretty much as you were at the top of the World Championship. It's going to be a 2-point extension of the lead for Bezzecchi this week. He lost 3 to Martin yesterday. He's going to gain 5 back today. This was Acosta, who was so close actually there to completely skittling out. Poor Fabio Gian Antonio, as that KTM was refusing to stop into San Donato. Fortunately for both, he missed it.
It felt like after the disappointment of missing out on the sprint podium yesterday, nothing was going to get in the way of Marco Bezzecchi from winning his home Grand Prix in Mugello. A lifelong dream is about to come to fruition for Bez. He's in that luxury position. He's in that wonderful position of being over 3 seconds clear with a lap and a half to go in front of his home crowd. They're going to raise the roof here in Mugello. 50 years since the first Grand Prix took place here. Of course, so many of the previous MotoGP battles were won by Italian icon Valentino Rossi, but they have got a new superstar to roar on the grandstands as Raul Fernandez easing through on the inside of Almaguer, going through Colantine. This has been some fight back, to be fair, by Raul Fernandez. 18th at the end of that disastrous first lap. He now got himself up into P8.
Getting to the last stages, and we're about to start the final lap. Pretty not too much for Ducati at this stage of proceedings. 1 second, that's 0.9 now between Bagnaia and Ayagura. And Ayagura took 0.9 of a second out of Bagnaia on the last lap. Bagnaia isn't home for third yet.
It's 46. Some electric place, isn't it? Late on, the Japanese start. keep an eye on Agura and Digia. They are famed, aren't they? Particularly 2026 for their late race pace. Barring any late disasters, barring any late dramas, though, this is going to be a lap of Mugello, which Marco Bezzecchi will enjoy. What a moment lies in store for the number 72. The 27-year-old Italian never had a Grand Prix podium finish of any sort in any class here in Mugello. He's about to end that run. What a weekend, what a day for Aprilia and for Marco Bezzecchi.
And it might yet still be an Aprilia lockout of the podium after they locked out the front row of the grid yesterday. Agura is just taking meters out of Bagnaia by the corner, and Bagnaia, within sight of the checkered flag, might lose his grip on the podium again.
He is. He has got no chance. He's got no chance. Agura's going to gobble him up here. I mean, Bagnaia is a passenger. He's a sitting on late heartache coming here for Bagnaia. Can he somehow defend and complete a podium here for Ducati? Has he got anything left? Agura just all over the rear tyre of Bagnaia. Marco Bezzecchi's already in the braking zone for the final corner. Here comes Agura. You know he's going to go on the inside of Bagnaia. Bagnaia tries to go defensive, but here comes Agura. And for the second time in the last 3 Grand Prix, we're going to have an Aprilia lockout, are we? On the podium, Bagnaia speaks to the inside line. What a battle for the final place on the podium. But Marco Bezzecchi is proof that dreams do come true. He takes a fairy tale home success here in Mugello, and huge credit to Pecco Bagnaia, who does somehow deny Aprilia from an all-Aprilia lockout on the front row. Bagnaia's late heroics do deny Aprilia an all lockout on the podium, but take nothing away. Surely that is, as Formula One World Champion Kimi Antonelli waves the checkered flag, that has to be the best day of Marco Bezzecchi's life. Simply the best, simply the best day of his career. He has done it. Dreams do come true. A lifelong dream as a schoolboy. He would have watched his Italian heroes for so many years win here in Mugello, and Marco Bezzecchi has done it. He is the winner of the Italian Grand Prix. A 1-2 for the factory Aprilia team. Marco Bezzecchi, your 2026 MotoGP Master of Mugello.
It does look like there is a bit of emotion there for Marco Bezzecchi, who doesn't often show it, but boy, is this made an impact on Marco. You can see some tears in the Aprilia camp down in Finland. It's a family affair. His sisters are here. One held the umbrella for him on the grid before the sprint, another before the Grand Prix today. And surely the greatest day of Bezzecchi's MotoGP career so far, and with more performances like that, the best is still to come.
He plonks himself on top of the tank. Aprilia's first win at this circuit. Marco Bezzecchi's first win and his first podium at this circuit. What a season Marco Bezzecchi is having right now. That is his 4th win of the campaign. 4 wins in the opening 7 rounds of the season. Brilliant by Bez. As soon as he got through on Pecco Bagnaia, lap 14, wasn't it, of 23. Well, the game was up very quickly. He was in cruise control. He took the checkered flag 3.5 seconds. Special moments this. You can see what it means to the factory Aprilia team with the live audio right from the heart of the Nuali garage. Marco Bezzecchi is going to savour every single second of this special moment. What a moment for him. What a moment. Massimo Riva has been reduced to tears as well. A weekend, the best weekend of Aprilia's history in MotoGP, surely. They have produced the fastest motorcycle in history, almost 370 kilometers an hour from Martin and from Bez. Their bike produced the first ever 143 lap, and they've locked out the top 2 places once again with Marco Bezzecchi, the home hero. Let's get the thoughts made. Very emotional. Massimo Rivola.
Massimo, tears in your eyes. We can see the emotion. Why does this mean so much?
A lot of tension here. You know, Rome race is always a bit tough. But starting in front with everybody, with just, I mean, big responsibility, but big satisfaction. Fantastic weekend.
What will this do?
Super proud of the team. I mean, this is quite a big one for us.
What will this mean to Marco in particular as well?
It's a boost after a couple of races that you know, it was not the best. Back to be the best. It's a boost of adrenaline and confidence that he deserves.
Congratulations.
They're pinching themselves, aren't they, right now at Aprilia inside that Nawali factory. What a moment. Oh, fairy tale stuff this, isn't it, for Aprilia and for Marco Bezzecchi in particular. Oh, Agura, he could almost smell the Prosecco. He could sense he lost it by 0.03 of a second. Got on the inside of Pecco Bagnaia, didn't he, on the brakes in the final corner. He does crack a smile because once again it was another stunning ride. Agura, Palabinor there comes to congratulate the Gulf livery Japanese star.
From 13th on the grid too.
I mean, if Agura can qualify, well, you know that he's going to have something for Bezzecchi and for Martin. This was the moment where he must have thought, for the second time in 3 Grand Prix, he was going to secure a lockout of Aprilia on the podium. But you have to say chapeau to Pecco Bagnaia.
He deserved a podium.
Yeah,
today,
he led until the 14th lap, didn't he, Pecco Bagnaia, and he was really suffering late on. I mean, Agura did a 46.9 on the last lap, and it didn't come with a podium. Late heartache for Trackhouse. No double podium celebrations for them. Davide Brivio can't quite believe it.
It's easy to say with the benefit of hindsight from here whether Agura could have just waited until out of the final corner and just blasted past on the run to the line, so I'm sure he would have done it had he followed Bagnaia around the last corner, but he clearly wanted to attack, and who can blame him? Marc Marquez certainly brought the entertainment. He gave everything today. Pedro Acosta certainly knows he's been a race this afternoon with Marc Marquez. 7th, he's just getting started again.
Heck of a ride. Heck of a ride that by the reigning world champion. 7th place, 10 seconds he was back at Bezzecchi at the checker flag, which pretty much is the story of his season so far. He feels like he's been missing about half a second in terms of outright race pace, which is a pretty accurate assessment of where he was really today. Had a great fight, didn't he? For 2/3 of that race, he was just elbow to elbow, knee to knee, shoulder to shoulder with Acosta. Got passed late on by Agura and the Gian Antonio. Toy Martin, some weekend. What a recovery after a disastrous Catalan Grand Prix where he was on the floor 6 times in 4 days. A double podium for the Martinator. Fabio Di Gianantonio, well, the sequence of top 6 finishes rolls on. Well, every Grand Prix so far this year he has finished inside the top 6, but he would have wanted more, he would have expected more, but once again his hopes were really undone by another poor start. He was 12th at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, and he had the same sort of pace as Agura did, as you mentioned. He was right behind, just 0.3 behind Agura, so he missed the podium in the end by 3.5 of a second did Fabio Di Gianantonio. For Marco Bezzecchi, who is going to want to savour every metre of this celebration lap, this cool-down lap. We might have to wait a while for the podium, but Marco Bezzecchi must know that these days don't come around very often in your Grand Prix career to win your home Grand Prix as the leader of the World Championship on an Italian bike. It doesn't get much better than that for Bez.
Ducati's domination in Mugello is well and truly over. Finito. They lost their first sprint ever here yesterday, thanks to Ralph Fernandez. You have to say Pecco Bagnaia, well, he fought a really good fight, coming up short at the end, but just for the second time in the last 9 visits to Mugello, Ducati are defeated. Ralph Fernandez looks a little bit defeated right now. He knows that mistake, a key early mistake, before it even got into top gear here in Mugello, cost him the chance to fight for a double podium. You can just see there's more than a tinge of regret on the face of Ralph Fernandez, because that was one that got away for Trackhouse and for the Spanish rider. It'll sting as well when he sees Bezzecchi and Martin first and second, and his teammate Agura coming charging through to narrowly miss out on the podium. Some lucky fan has got some Marco Bezzecchi's gloves as a special memento from Mugello 2026. He's going to enjoy this, isn't he? This will be the slowest lap Marco Bezzecchi has ever done in Mugello, and quite rightly so, because since he was a schoolboy, since he first had aspirations and dreams of being a Grand Prix motorcycle racer, this was the race any rider in their home country wants to win their home round. But this, as mentioned, is the spiritual home of Grand Prix racing in Italy. home of the Italian Grand Prix since 1994. And joining that elite club of winners is Marco Bezzecchi.
Well, Pedro Acosta did at least win that battle, which went on for most of the race with Marc Marquez, but he doesn't come to MotoGP races to finish in 6th place. This was the contact where, I think in terms of his race, the damage was probably already done, as Agura was always going to motor clear from him in the end. Certainly brought the fight today, did Pedro Acosta, but in the end, the Aprilias and indeed the Ducatis of Bagnaia and Gian Antonio had too much for it.
I love watching Acosta. That guy has got so much fight in him. He does not know when he's beaten, does he? Does not accept anybody getting on the inside of him. He is a cage fighter. He is a warrior. What will he be capable of doing in the new 850cc Pirelli tyre era next year when he moves on to a factory Ducati? But Marco Bezzecchi taking the congratulations of portions of the pit lane as he comes to what's going to be a very special Parc Ferme. His first win in Mugello, Aprilia's first win ever in Mugello. And he gets mobbed. He gets absolutely mobbed here by all of his close friends. His two sisters, Laura and Sylvia, have been helping him on the grid with the umbrella duty here this weekend. I'm sure they're going to be enjoying some very special celebrations as well. So finally, and eventually, to the absolute joy of the factory Aprilia crew, Marco Bezzecchi, as he has waited so many years to do, slots himself into P1 here in Mugello.
He's going to take some beating in the World Championship battle this season. He's certainly not infallible, as we've seen this year, but on Sunday afternoons, he's got such an extraordinary record. That 4th is as bad as it's got in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago. Besides that, it's been either 1st or 2nd as he's carried aloft by his Aprilia team. He is on top of the World Championship by 17 points as we head to Hungary in a week's time.
He goes crowd surfing, and he is surfing the crest of a wave right now, isn't he? Marco Bezzecchi. This sensational sequence of 1st or 2nd place finishes roll on since Malaysia last year, Catalonia last time out, the only time he's been bumped out of the top 2. Looks like Toprak Razgatlioglu was given a late penalty for exceeding track limits on the very last lap, because Jack Miller, his Pramac Yamaha teammate, has been credited with 15th position. I think there was a 1-drop position on the final lap for the Turk. So Mike Payne coming the way for him, and Fabio Quartararo just had a miserable day as Kimi Antonelli, Formula 1 World Championship leader, comes to congratulate Pecco Bagnaia. He put everything into that. He put his heart and soul into his home race here, just as we expected he would do, Pecco Bagnaia. He takes the congratulations of Davide Tardozzi, and now there, Gigi Bolligna. Not been too many times in recent weeks where Pecco has been top Ducati. Well, that is his honour here today in front of his home crowd. But once again, Ducati destroyed by Aprilia.
Formula 1 World Championship leader congratulates the MotoGP World Championship leader. What a golden era this is at the moment for Italian sport, with Yannick Sinner even accounting for his issues in Roland Garros this week. Clearly the dominant force in the tennis world right now. Whether it's 2 or 4 wheels, it is Italy very much on top.
Yeah, the Bezzecchi blitz continues. He has found his green touch, hasn't he? That is now double figures, 10 MotoGP wins for the 27-year-old. Just will feel extra special, super special to win here in Mugello. Large portions of a record crowd pour onto this fastest track on the Grand Prix calendar to try and get themselves into a prime position for the podium celebrations. What a moment this is for the Bezzecchi family. Not just for Marco, but all those who for so many years have given up so much. They've made so many sacrifices to put him in this position. It's a special moment for all the Bezzecchi connections. Here is Pecco Bagnaia then. What a ride. What a fight he produced in that Italian Grand Prix. He's cracked a smile, and he should do as well. And Bagnaia is the rider of the race, justifiably so, some will say. Let's get his thoughts then with Jack after excellent third.
Pecco, what an effort, what a fight.
final lap, you left absolutely everything out there to take a podium here at Mugello after what has been such a tricky start to the year, a roller coaster 18 months. What does this mean to once again be back on the podium on home soil?
I just give everything for the crowd here. Was really tough because in the last laps I was struggling a lot with the rear grip, and I saw that the Aprilias and Bezzecchi were doing a fantastic job. I just tried to leave no space for I, but thanks to everyone, thanks to my team that did a fantastic job, and we really deserve this kind of result.
Brilliant ride, well done.
Grazie mille. Pecco says thank you very much. It was a top. Great stuff. He led it until lap 14. There was this potential drama, wasn't there? 30% of you watching home voted the rider of the race. At that stage, he must have been thinking, I'll lose the podium, but no, I'm not. I am not going to miss out on the box here today. Look at this. This is how close it's going to be. They're over the line between Bagnaia and Nagura and the checkered flag. Not even 400ths of a second, splitting third and fourth.
With 10 laps to go in the Grand Prix, Ayagura was 6 seconds behind Pecco Bagnaia. Very nearly caught him, but apart from maybe the most hardened of Ayagura fans, I think everyone else will probably voice the opinion that Pecco Bagnaia fully merited a podium today.
Great ride, so too for Jorge Martin. He's had a great weekend here. 2 podiums after a nightmare 2 DNFs in Barcelona. Let's get some thoughts from Jorge with that.
Well, Jorge, after the bruising weekend in Barcelona, you've bounced back in great style here. Second yesterday, second today. You must be really proud of your efforts.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy. You know, the team worked in an amazing way during all the weekend. I was trying to get back that confidence, but you know, I quite struggled this weekend. We need to continue working, but I have to be really grateful to Aprilia for the job. Marco today was impressive. Congrats to him, because winning for sure in Mugello for him it's special. But yeah, I think we have to continue this progression.
Great job today.
Thank you.
He did, as he so often does. Do a great job, didn't he, Jorge Martin? Acknowledging the unrivaled pace of Marco Bezzecchi ahead of him, who won his home Grand Prix here at Mugello. But 2 second places, 2 in Barcelona, restoring a bit of that lost confidence this weekend. Martin puts himself second in the World Championship. 22 points he is clear of Fabio Gianantonio. Third place, but here he is. On Thursday he said it would be a dream to win his home Grand Prix Mugello. He has done it, dreams have come true. Marco Bezzecchi, your winner here in the Italian Grand Prix with Jack.
Marco, on Thursday you said it would be a dream to come here, a circuit you attended as a child, and for the first time to become an Italian Grand Prix winner. You have just done it. Put into words the emotions you're feeling.
I feel unbelievable. It's something that I was dreaming since when I was a kid, and to achieve this dream is amazing. I want to say, can I speak Italian?
Of course.
Mugello, grazie col cuore. Oggi gli abbiamo dato, ci siamo divertiti. Grazie a tutti ragazzi, siete fantastici. Un bacio.
Of course you can speak Italian, you can speak any language you want after delivering a performance like that in your home Grand Prix. This was then on lap 14. He had shadowed, he had ghosted Pecco Bagnaia the first 2/3 of that race, and once he made that key move on the brakes into San Donato, well, that was the start of his journey to this super sweet moment. Over the line he crosses as an Italian Grand Prix winner, a Mugello winner. Look what it means to Massimo Riva. He's in tears, he's overcome by emotion. What a 2026 Aprilia are currently having. We're going to have to prize Marco Bezzecchi away, aren't we, from the pit wall, as he quite rightly takes the adulation of the home crowd. For so many years, this was the domain of his manager and mentor Valentino Rossi. But there's a new sheriff in town in Mugello, and it is Marco Bezzecchi. What a day, what a weekend for him and for Aprilia.
How must that feel for Marco Bezzecchi, who of course did win a sprint at Misano last year, but there is no feeling for an Italian rider like winning the Italian Grand Prix. He is a national hero, and he is, at the moment, the leading contender and the clear favourite to become Italy's latest MotoGP world champion. So much to be done between now and then. Pecco Bagnaia, who of course himself made two-time MotoGP world champion for Italy, and you can see so much red and so many 63s in that sea of fans. For the journey he's been on, it's not a fourth Italian Grand Prix victory, but this podium will mean so much to Pecco.
What a difference a year makes. He was heartbroken. He was devastated here inside that factory Ducati garage when he got pipped at the post and missed the podium in fourth place. Not the one he wanted, but still fantastic scenes for Pecco Bagnaia. The Italian fans knew, and they know that he gave everything to try and win that Grand Prix. Davide Tardozzi just having a little bit of a post-Italian Grand Prix inquest with Jorge Martin. Davide Tardozzi's going, give us a chance, mate.
Yeah.
Come on, let's have a chance. Ducati, though, have been overhauled, haven't they? As the reference motorcycle in MotoGP right now. They are unique scenes, aren't they? They always bring something that little bit different, but something that little bit extra special. The Mugello fans in particular, when they are hailing and lauding one of their own. Marco Bezzecchi, winner of the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. He drapes himself in the Italian tricolore, the Italian national flag, for what is going to be probably the longest podium to the race we've had for quite some time. Can we even drag him away from the thousands of fans who are now packed onto the start-finish straight here? More congratulations, more embraces for brilliant bears. What a weekend we have had here. We call it Magic Mugello, we call it Magnificent Mugello for a very good reason. What a weekend.
Per l'area c'era un vento strano all'inizio. Ho detto guarda, oggi mi sei qua. Come ha fatto così? Oddio, sei andato terzo. È vero, perché poi Pecco mi ha passato. Pecco andava forte all'inizio,
Finché dietro è stata
a me a sinistra calato.
dopo dietro di te per mettere la mappa a sinistra del motore ho passato, ho cacciato, sono uscito da uno così e ho fatto 2-3 troppo basso.
A me anche staccavi fortissimo da uno, sembrava a sinistra, a destra.
A me sembrava tantissimo a sinistra. Augura mi ha passato l'ultima curva.
La tua moto andava.
Poi già non riuscivo più a finire di girare.
Cazzo, sul dritto avevi un missile. Ma cosa ti mettono? Lo zucchero nel serbatoio ti mettono.
E qua guarda, adesso accelero se abbasso.
No, adesso? Io ho visto tutto a 9.
Quando ho visto Ogura era 2,9 da me, 3 alla fine, verso il ritmo. Mi sembra alla fine
Oddio! Bello vincere qua,
farà l'ultimo giro.
Oh, questo è l'ultimo giro. No, cosa? Subito, va. Poi c'avevi un missile. L'ultimo giro?
No, io qua sono uscito.
Ma anche lui, Tanto eravamo tutti un po'. L'ha passato lui a presto, lui a posto. Sì, ma l'ha passata prestissimo.
E poi ho detto in culo.
Bello.
Sbagliato.
Sì, ma quello che mi prendeva anche a me. Ero figlio.
Cazzo, ma gli ultimi giri non è mostruoso.
What a moment awaits Marco Bezzecchi as he is poised to be announced in front of the adoring Italian fans as the latest and newest winner of the Italian MotoGP here in Mugello. Scenes that he will never forget. He's going to be watching that race a million times probably before we get hungry next weekend for round 8 in this year's MotoGP World Championship. Two Italians on the podium here in Mugello, and one of their own, the home hero Marco Bezzecchi, will stand very top step.
Special scenes these will be, particularly for Marco Bezzecchi, but also for Pecco Bagnaia, who missed out on a podium in one of the most painful experiences of his miserable 2025 season. Is this another step towards Pecco Bagnaia rediscovering that magic again? It's back podiums, but this time he gets to stand up there. This time it's the Mugello podium that Pecco Bagnaia gets to be a part of. Joined to the Aprilia party, which of course he might be a part of next year, with Pecco Bagnaia set to move across and take Jorge Martin's place in the factory Aprilia team. Some Arriva there. Has felt this so deeply. It's Aprilia 1-2 today. Looks like he's not the only one there under the podium, being overcome by the emotion of what Aprilia have achieved today. It will be the CEO, Massimo Rivola himself, who will take the winning constructor prize. The thousands of fans outside our coachbox window underneath the podium are being kept waiting. Thank you very much to do so. We're about to see two of their own. One who has clinched world championships in the past, and another who is potentially on his way to doing so. The podium ceremony begins. Massimo Rivola will take his place as the CEO of an all-conquering Aprilia 1-2 today. Pecco Bagnaia, he's back on a Mugello podium. Listen to this. The most cherished third place of Pecco Bagnaia's MotoGP career. Jorge Martin will take second place. His best result here in Mugello, keeps himself very much in play in terms of the World Championship. But for Marco Bezzecchi, a moment that he must have dreamed of for years. A moment where he takes the applause of his team and his country as winner of the Italian Grand Prix. Feels he can fly himself to Balaton Park next weekend, the Hungarian Grand Prix, which is a week away. Winning constructor prize then, as Aprilia extend their incredible record now. 5 wins from 7 in 2026. Fourth 1-2 that they've achieved. Third headed by Bezzecchi. Brazil, Austin, and of course the Martin-led 1-2 on the mob. Pecco Bagnaia, his 61st MotoGP podium. His 4th here at Mugello. We won't ask the question once again whether Pecco Bagnaia is back, but today we certainly got a flavour of Bagnaia's very best. Jorge Martin will leave here 17 points behind his teammate Marco Bezzecchi after a pair of second places. After the blip of Barcelona, his ultra-consistent 2026 season continues. And when he was a small boy, Marco Bezzecchi would have come through these gates to cheer on Valentino Rossi and see him win the Italian Grand Prix. Well, Marco Bezzecchi at Mugello, today is your day. This is all for you, the winner of the Italian Grand Prix.
Grazie Italia. What a weekend we have had here in the Grand Prix of Italy. 3 Italian bikes on the podium and an Italian MotoGP winner in front of a crowd which have kicked off a carnival atmosphere down on the start-finish straight. It sends a tingle down your spine, raise the hairs on the back of your neck. What a pleasure, what a privilege it is to be part of this incredible occasion, one which is going to live long in the memory of Aprilia and for Marco Bezzecchi. A record-breaking pole position, followed up by his first ever win in front of his home crowd. A sensational weekend for Aprilia, breaking records galore in terms of lap times and top speeds. They are victorious once again. With another factory 1-2. Look at that, the fist pump as a drenched, soaked in Prosecco, Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola can't quite believe what he is witnessing, can't quite believe what he's experiencing. Aprilia's story just keeps getting better and better and better. From the back of the grid to the front of the grid, from nowhere to the top step of the podium at the top of the MotoGP World Championship. Enjoy it, Aprilia fans, enjoy it, Marco Bezzecchi fans. The good news for MotoGP fans is we don't have to wait too much longer before our next chapter was already turning out to be a phenomenal 2026 World Championship campaign. Because we're packing our bags and we're hot-footing it to Hungary next weekend. Pre-race was some show, wasn't it? With Kimi Antonelli, Formula 1 World Championship leader, supporting the home heroes. Pecco Bagnaia did so much of the front running in that Grand Prix. He did just about cling on for a brilliant podium. He saw what it meant to Bagnaia at the end of those incredibly hard 23 laps. He just picked Figura at the post. But Marco Bezzecchi was simply too good. He was simply too strong. He was simply too fast. Once again, he is simply the best. Fairy tale stuff, isn't it? They're in dreamland, Aprilia. So too is Marco Bezzecchi. I'm sure at some stage later on this afternoon, when he's come back with all his media duties, he will be back once again to soak up this special atmosphere here in the Cello. But next weekend, we make our second visit to Balaton Park. Nestled alongside the vast and spectacular Lake Balaton. Get ready for the Grand Prix of Hungary. That's coming up next weekend.
Well, you're certainly hungry for more after Marco Bezzecchi. Then on another 1-2. Home victory for him. Pecco Bagnaia takes third, hanging on the final lap for a fast closing eye of Laura. Fabio Di Antonio recovering from a dreadful first lap for fifth. Pedro Acosta sixth. Marc Marquez source of so much of the entertainment this afternoon. He took 7th. Fermin Aldeguer promoted to 8th after Ralph Fernandez moments ago got a one-place penalty for contact late in the race. Moreira 10th, Binder, Mir, Marini, Morbidelli, and it's Jack Miller who won the battle of the Yamahas towards the back of the field after Toprak Razgatlioglu got a one-place penalty for exceeding track limits on the final lap. Anea Bastianini, Alex Rins and Cal Crutchlow, the 3 retirements. So Marco Bezzecchi's World Championship lead extended slightly from the start of the weekend. He wins back the 3 points he lost yesterday, plus a couple more. He leads Jorge Martin by 17. Fabio Di Giannantonio is now 39 points back. Ayagura back ahead of his teammate Ralph Fernandez in the championship. Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez both climb a place ahead of the absent Alex Marquez. The reigning champion, Marc, is now 102 points off the points lead. Aprilia extend their Constructors' Championship lead over Ducati after a 9-point gain today. The lead is now 30 points. And after a maximum score today, look at the lead for Aprilia Racing in the Team's Championship. It's 150 points over Trackhouse. Here are some highlights from a day that Marco Bezzecchi will treasure forever. The day he won the Italian Grand Prix. When he led after the start of the Grand Prix, I'm sure many would have thought, well, that's it. Marco Bezzecchi normally, when he leads out of turn 1, leads at the end of the final lap. He ultimately would, but not through the most obvious of routes. Ralph Fernandez will take the ideal route through the second half of the first corner, dropping down to 18th place. He was to recover though for a place in the top 10. Martin was certainly a stickier claim for the early lead, but he would lose that back to Marco Bezzecchi. Two factory Ducatis also firmly in the action in the early stages as Pecco Bagnaia took advantage of that error from Martin to seize 2nd place. Grand Prix circuit that he has won on 3 previous occasions. Pecco Bagnaia began his chase for 4th by taking his very good friend Marco Bezzecchi for the lead at the start of lap 3. Laps later, shadowing his very close friend Marco Bezzecchi will seize the lead back. Bagnaia starting to run out of grip and losing his grip on a 4th Mugello victory. Jorge Martin would add further punishment by taking 2nd place, but despite fading drastically in the latter stages, Bagnaia would cling on to the final place on the podium. Marc Marquez was enjoying a thrilling tussle with Pedro Acosta on the factory KTM. That, at this stage, was for 4th place. It would be gazumped, though, by the fast-finishing Ayagura and Fabio Di Giannantonio. That was Agura taking 5th, allowing Di Giannantonio to seize the move as well. Look around the outside of Pedro Acosta on the run down to the close corner. Contact on the way out of San Bernardo. Ayagura and his eyes on the ball. Brought him not to the podium when he dived up the inside of Pecco Bagnaia into Pacini on the final lap. Bagnaia, though, wasn't going to relinquish. He wasn't going to give up. He takes a podium at the Italian Grand Prix. 3rd for Pecco Bagnaia. 2nd for Jorge Martin. But the winner at home, the toast of Mugello tonight, the World Championship leader, Marco Bezzecchi. We will see you in Hungary next weekend.
sensational. The first Hungarian Grand Prix in over 3 decades. MotoGP is going to roar into life here in Balaton Park. We'll keep a close eye on Fabio Antonio, third on the grid. VR46 Ducati crew identified an issue on the sighting lap. Big headache for Digio.
Have to start this Grand Prix from the pit lane.
We've got the green flag clearing at the back. But we're lights out and racing then here in MotoGP. Marco Bezzecchi is going to try and be aggressive on the inside of Marc Marquez into that first corner. Big contact between 72 and 93.
Marc Marquez back to 3rd place. Pecco Bagnaia is up to 7th place already, although that might become 8th now. Here comes Aldeguer up the inside. Martin's also passed Bagnaia. Oh,
Bastianini's gone down. A real tough weekend for the beast.
And what start for Pedro Acosta, already up into P4. Sometimes Alex Marquez is on the floor. He's gone down at turn 1.
Mark up to 2nd. Marc Marquez now he does start to think about maybe on the 2nd. Costa to 3rd place. Into 3rd place. He's looking really vulnerable right now on that factory Aprilia. So vulnerable that Marquez hits the front end for the 3rd time. And Marc just charging in that little bit too hot on the brakes into turn 1. Bez briefly then back at the front. Now we go into turn 5. Marquez levels Bez once again in that heavy braking zone. Bezzecchi comes straight back on through.
Marquez got another very good run out of turn 17. Can he get up alongside and break legs enough this time to get through on Marco Bezzecchi? Bezzecchi tries to come back underneath him, but Marc Marquez now has the inside line for turn 2.
You can just see there Acosta. He really is starting to hunt down Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi goes charging in hot then into that final chicane. Power on the factory Aprilia down the start-finish straight, but he's up against the fastest Grand Prix bike in history, Pedro Acosta's KTM. Acosta has the inside line now in the braking zone. Acosta up in a 2nd.
Aldeguer's gone down, he has. That's the 2nd Gresini Ducati to go down.
Martin on the inside of Morbidelli, and he's up into P4. And make that another double. Mine's a double, says Marc Marquez here in Hungary. It has been a breeze in Balaton. For World Championship leader Marc Marquez, as he does win for a 7th successive Grand Prix. An excellent 7th to 2nd for the fighting Pedro Acosta on the factory KTM. Marco Bezzecchi takes 3rd place, another excellent top 3 for Bez. Jorge Martin, 16th to 4th. What a ride by the world champion.
Marc Marquez,
Pole position, sprint victory, Grand Prix victory. He is unstoppable. Simple as that. Marc Marquez was simply on a different level. Back from the summer break, Saxon ring sprint. Massive wheel spin by Bagnaia. Not lucky to the super run. Wins as a sprint here in the Grand Prix of Austria. It is chapter 13. Welcome to Grand Prix number 1000. It's the Grand Prix of Austria. Marco Bezzecchi then on pole position. Green flag though clears at the back.